I do enjoy it. Like, I genuinely enjoy like most, if not all, of the aspects of cycling. I'm absolutely obsessed with the sport. My entire life revolves around it these days, and I'm pretty okay with that.
Welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. I'm Matthew Pioro. You just heard from Lucy Hempstead. At 6 p.m. on March 12th, Hempstead climbed onto her bike, which was connected to her trainer, and she started pedaling. She kept pedaling for 24 hours. At 6 p.m. the following day, she set a distance record, which is currently in the process of being ratified by Guinness World Records. After the ride, I wanted to know more about Hempstead and her long, tough effort. The Ottawa native is a former runner. She's faced anxiety, depression, an eating disorder, burnout, and broken bones. But now, things are looking more positive, and her discovery of cycling is part of that complex change. She may have broken a world record on her bike, but the machine plays a more significant role in putting things back together for the rider. In 2019, Hempstead's mother signed her up for a talent identification program that aims to steer young athletes toward Olympic goals. That bit of parental initiative has Hempstead on a path to the Games in 2024 for cycling. So listen to my conversation with Hempstead to find out more about this rider with big potential, and find out just what type of pizza she crushed after setting a world record. Lucy Hempstead, we're speaking about a week after you started a 24-hour ride on a trainer. How did you feel before you started riding?
Before I started riding, I mostly felt nervous to kind of experience how mentally challenging it was going to be. I felt pretty ready physically, and I was honestly super excited to get on the bike because the build up to the event had been kind of stressful in terms of all the media and everything like that. So I was just excited to start and just feel safe sitting on my bike and feel like this is where I know I'm going to be for the next 24 hours and I have a job to do. But it was just all about preparing myself mentally.
You were planning to beat the Guinness World Record for greatest simulated distance logged on a trainer in 24 hours by a woman. The record previous was 680 kilometers. What distance did you think you could do?
My personal goal for the entire event was around 700K because I had planned on going kind of 30 kilometers an hour-ish for the 2-hour stages, which there were 12 of. So around 700K was kind of my goal.
And did you feel confident that you could reach that goal?
Yeah, I felt really confident that I could reach that goal because I had organized a group with all of my friends and some of my teammates to pull me and kind of have a drafting simulation thing going on, or just like having pace people around me. So that was really good.
The event was also not just a world record attempt, but it was also part of Crush COVID Ride for Mind. Can you tell me a bit about that and the charitable component to the ride?
The most important part of the entire thing was the charity and the whole Crush COVID Ride for Mind for the Michael Garron Foundation. We were raising money for their mental health institutions in the Michael Garron Hospital, and just to make sure that their mental health is being talked about, because that's something that's really been difficult on everybody throughout this whole pandemic. I know I struggle with mental health a lot every single day of my life, and it's been a big part of shaping my now cycling career and who I am and the people around me and how I treat others. And the entire charity just means a lot to me. And I think it's so important to raise money and talk about it, because when we don't talk about mental health, the stigma just gets worse and worse and worse because it's not as obvious as a broken bone.
Can you tell me more about your personal mental health struggles?
I struggle with severe anxiety and depression, and that's been getting a lot better. But I've also my success has really been hindered throughout the years when I did track, when I had a really severe eating disorder. And those have caused permanent damage to me that I'll carry with me forever. And I struggle with it every day. But cycling and athletics have really, really given me an outlet for my mental health and given me a community and a support group that truly understands what it's like to have mental health or even an eating disorder in high competitive sport, because it's a whole other world and it's a super difficult thing to balance.
Help me understand that a bit more, because in a way it seems like the sport, whether athletics, which you participated in before cycling, it sounds like it may be kind of a source for these problems, possibly the eating disorder. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But then it also sounds like it's something that helps you and gives you strength by participating in sport.
Yeah, so that's where personally my mindset had to change, where you have to eat to fuel yourself and you're not working out so that you feel like you can eat. Because there was a mindset switch that I had to do, especially when I was doing track, is that I'm eating to be a great athlete. I don't want to use being a great athlete as an excuse to just be super, super fit all of the time and work towards an aesthetic instead of working towards a goal. Because that was something that I really had to get over, kind of working out to look a certain way, to feel like I look the part instead of just being the part.
When did that shift happen for you from sort of to I guess pick up on your phrase, that aesthetic goal to the more athletic goal?
That really changed for me when I moved from track to cycling. Near the end of my track career, I was at a really horrible point and I was burnt out 100% of the sport. So RBC gave me kind of a vessel to find a new sport and fall in love with that for all the right reasons. And I got to start fresh and fall in love with being outside and riding my bike and learning how to work an entirely new machine other than just my body. So that kind of like rekindled my love for athletics and sport and all of that.
Picking up on your former athletics career, which was sprinting and hurdling, why did it come to an end for you?
So my track career mainly came to an end for me when my eating disorder got super severe and started affecting me in ways that I could see physically. I got 2 different metatarsal fractures in both my feet, in addition to a right navicular fracture and a pelvic fracture towards the right of my pelvis on the right side. I remember going to the bone density clinic and being the only person there under 65 and something in my brain being like, this is totally not right. You've put yourself in such a bad place and you're allowed to leave. I had to remind myself that like track wasn't my identity and I had to be more than just a person who ran track, even though I'd been doing that my whole life at a pretty competitive level. So that was a big reality check for me, and I realized that I was going to have a whole world of trouble after these fractures and coming back from that and learning how to train my body at a high performance level without putting that strain, and cycling was the perfect sport for that.
So did you then, say after that trip to the bone density clinic, did you just take a break from competition? Did you have like a reset, a pause, or did you start looking to the bicycle after that?
I think it was mid-season anyway, so there weren't too many races going on at the time. But yeah, I just started replacing all of my high-intensity, what would be treadmill workouts, to a stationary spin bike that you'd find in like a high school gym class or just like a gym. That's where I kind of, as a result, learned how to push myself on the bike in a similar way that I'd push myself running. I feel like when running, you are instantly, your heart rate is up there and you're instantly working your entire body the whole time, whereas I feel like you can actively recover a lot easier on the bike.
So you started cycling, and then is that when your mom signed you up for the RBC training ground?
In between track and when I found cycling, I didn't really start cycling when I was doing track. That's just a way I was cross-training to keep training for track. So I never really started cycling apart from a couple spin classes here and there. But my mom realized that I was burnt out, and kind of as a last resort, she signed me up for RBC Training Ground. That's a program where people do assess you through a number of tests and everything and kind of steer you towards a sport that they feel like there's potentially Olympic futures there. And there's sports like speed skating and rugby and obviously cycling, and even track was also there. And I remember completing the beep test and having done quite well. Cycling Canada and their scouts that they had brought to that event for the preliminaries at Ottawa, they approached me and explained to me that they feel that I'd suit the sport quite well and that they were going to reach out for secondary testing in Milton in the coming weeks.
Can you tell me about the beep test?
Yeah, so the beep test is a 20-meter shuffle run, and every time that the beep goes off, every kind of 10 levels, it speeds up. So it's overall an endurance test. And yeah, I performed quite well there. And just kind of my physique, in addition to my performance in the beep test, they figured that I'd be a good potential cyclist.
And is this cycling on the road that they decided you might be good for, or track, or where did they feel your strengths would lead you?
They felt that my strengths would lie in road cycling, so the most endurance-based one.
Did you find that surprising?
I was pleasantly kind of surprised because I've always loved endurance. I've always loved long distance running, long distance cycling, long distance anything. And when I did soccer, I kind of found out that I was a little explosive, like as a young child. So that's kind of the route I took in track my whole life, even though I would always dwell on, oh, what if I did 1500s or 800s a little more, or even like 3Ks, because I'd always really liked long distance or even just middle distance. So I was pleasantly surprised when they mentioned the road cycling, because I finally felt like I was using my strengths to my advantage.
How did it feel to be tipped as a possible future Olympian, which is what came out of this identification process? But how did it feel to be tipped for a sport that really hadn't been a primary focus of yours?
Yeah, so I had learned to ride a bike when I was 11 with training wheels at the park up my street, which was like, that wasn't that long ago at the time. And it was a lot of pressure to be told, okay, yeah, you're a future Olympian in this sport. Let's go this way now. I was very surprised, very unexpected, but I was really excited because as a person that ran track my whole life, the Olympics has always been my dream. So to be told that people who know what they're doing feel like you have a shot at that, it's super confidence boosting, and it makes you super motivated to just like totally throw yourself in the deep end and learn everything about this sport. Like, I knew nothing about cycling, and in a matter of weeks I had managed to make friends in the cycling community, get a job at my local bike shop, just get as involved as I can, because I knew that I knew nothing, and that was only going to hinder any kind of success that I had.
I'm detecting kind of story elements of another RBC Training Ground athlete who is Kelsey Mitchell. She had a background in soccer and a few other sports, but then she was found to have, a really good engine that suited her for track cycling. While she could ride a bike, she had to learn so many things about cycling, like cadence and track stands. Are there any technical elements of cycling that you're working on right now?
Yeah, just my overall fit on the bike, I'm still adjusting to, I think. Obviously, cornering. Cornering's a big one for me. I just have to kind of trust myself and trust the bike and all of that. Just riding in a group was a big learning curve, so I'm glad I did that a lot this summer, because I feel like I have that down, because that's obviously one of the most important things. Just like learning to control an entirely other thing aside from just your body, which was what I was used to, and learning all of the group riding etiquette, learning how to not be a danger to yourself and others in a group, all that stuff. And all of the bike maintenance. Bike maintenance is a huge thing for me. I need to definitely keep learning that.
Do you enjoy that part, or is that just, part of the job?
I do enjoy it. Like, I genuinely enjoy like most, if not all, of the aspects of cycling. I'm absolutely obsessed with the sport. My entire life revolves around it these days, and I'm pretty okay with that. And yeah, I'm always looking to learn. So the fact that there's so much bike maintenance to learn is like kind of exciting. Also daunting, but kind of exciting.
You had a sport, you had athletics, and then it also brought some negative aspects to it. Then you find cycling, and you find this potential path to the Olympics. How was your state of mind then, or how did you feel you could manage, maybe avoid any of the sort of stresses and negative stresses that come with competition and sport?
So the negative stresses that I had felt towards competition in the sport came because I was burnt out and I felt like I was doing it kind of as a job. I felt like I was doing it because I had to live up to some kind of expectation of, this is who I am. Lucy is a track athlete. That's what she does. That's what she's here to do. And when she doesn't perform well in that, that reflects directly on how she is as a person. And it took me a while to realize that I am not defined by my performances as a person. Obviously, teams and all of that stuff, sponsors and everything, is you're as good as your last race, and you can, like, they care about all of that. But people to people connections that you deal with every day, people don't actually judge you on whether or not you do well every single day. And I put a lot of pressure on myself like that. And the second that I started to just enjoy the community in general and enjoy riding my bike for fun, or like going out for a ride and having it be a super easy ride, just enjoying the motions and going through the motions and being involved and being supported, that was just like a whole new environment that made me realize, yeah, this is what sport is supposed to feel like.
There are elements of your story that I'm just going to list. Ottawa runner, stress fracture in foot, switch to cycling. Those seem familiar to me, and they remind me of Michael Woods. Have you spoken with him at all about your new sporting career?
Yeah, we actually have had the pleasure to chat. We've done an interview with each other. He actually also worked at my bike shop in the same way that I'm working there now. So that's another weird similarity. His last name is also my mom's maiden name. So just, it's like super weird. He's an amazing guy and an amazing athlete. And anytime I've been able to talk to him, he's been incredible. He's been super supportive with kit and stuff like that. And just like overall connections and everything I'm super grateful that people like him have come from the Ottawa, Chelsea, Gatineau area. And it's just amazing to have them as part of the community.
And actually, that reminds me, your mom signed you up for that RBC testing. Were you cool with it, or were you like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, give me a break.
Yeah, I was pretty cool with it. I was like, oh, it's free. Like, why not do this thing? I like sports. I like testing. This is like the fitness testing we had to do back in high school. I was totally open to it because in my mind, I had nothing to lose, only to gain.
So you're from Ottawa. You're a student at the University of Ottawa, yet you're on a Toronto team. It's called Toronto Hustle. So how did a rider like you from the National Capital Region get mixed up with riders from Hogtown?
So a lot of the riders on our team are from all over the place, like all over the GTA, just because of the nature of university and everything. Throughout the summer, I started riding with the group of people that I was riding with, and a couple of the people I was riding with, like Matteo Delsin and Max Hayward and Theo Kincaid, they had connections with people on the team like Graham Rivers and Brad Bradford. And we would go for rides together. And there was one particular ride where I went, and it was a pretty hard ride. And I feel like just me riding with them in the park and everything in Gatineau, I stood out to them. And they kind of inquired about me in the future, and I guest rode for them for the Capital to Capital kind of as a test to see if I was a good fit for the team and if I bonded with the team and everything. And yeah, they decided to sign me for 2021, and I'm super excited about it. I love every single person on this team, and they feel like a family to me, and they've been amazing. But yeah, that's how I kind of got mixed up. I just rode with them a lot, and they noticed me, and I was able to perform.
I should mention Capital was a ride this past summer from Toronto to Ottawa. That's correct?
Yeah. This past early September, we set out at 3 a.m. to ride from Toronto to Ottawa in give or take 13-ish hours. It was 435K.
So here's a long distance event with Toronto Hustle. And I guess that brings us back to the 24-hour event you recently completed, Crush COVID, which was a Toronto Hustle endeavor as well, or it was supported through that group. So let's return to that. How were the first, let's say, 12 hours?
The first 12 hours were surprisingly okay, mostly because I had done that kind of distance / time in the saddle before. And I wasn't totally a stranger to it. It's kind of like when you enter no man's land that everything becomes kind of like, okay, what's my body going to feel like now? But yeah, the first 12 hours were like super fun because all the hype was still there in the first couple hours. And then we went into the night shift and I had a really great crew with me then. It wasn't until 6 a.m. the next morning, around like a little after 12 hours, where I was like, oh, I am not in the greatest place right now.
Interesting. And I guess was that the no man's land? Is that an area you'd never sort of pushed yourself to?
Yeah, exactly. That's like when I passed kind of the total kilometers that I had ever done, the hours I had ever done, and then it's also on an indoor trainer. So everything was a lot more intense, in my opinion.
Tell me about your setup. Where was your trainer and what kind of support did you have?
So my trainer was set up at my dad's girlfriend's house in Richmond, because if I had just kept it at the house that I like usually live in, it would have been a tiny little like porta potty looking basement situation, pain cave, with literally my trainer, a treadmill, and like unfinished basement walls and a tiny little window. So that wouldn't have been good for my overall mental health, I think. So I decided to move it all out to Richmond with a big open living room and everything and all the support. My dad's girlfriend baked a million goodies for me. Our sponsors sent out a lot of generous treats and everything. I had some friends in and out that were in my bubble. I had family there. It was really great for the morale.
Let's get back to 6 a.m. or just after 6 a.m. The ride started at 6 p.m. on a Friday, and so you're just past 12 hours. It's Saturday morning. How did you get past that really rough moment that came around that time?
I had to just sit up and put headphones on and just cry it out in front of my live stream for a good 2 hours. It was quite a low 2 hours, but I literally just sat there uncomfortably on my saddle with like multiple bib shorts layered on the saddle and just cried for the better part of an hour and a half.
That is rough.
It was. I had gone into the event knowing that there was going to be there were going to be highs and lows, but there was going to be a part that was like low in particular. And that was it. And I got there and I was like, this is exactly where you knew you'd put yourself. And now you just have to get through it and don't forget to eat. So I had the most forceful waffle eating 30-minute session and cried for a while. And then I realized that we were on the home stretch and just the morale went upwards from there.
So then after the waffle, were you seeing that proverbial light at the end of the tunnel? Was it getting easier?
Yeah. So as soon as I had prevented myself from fully bonking, I felt a little more confident. I realized that this was all normal because I just needed to eat. And I realized what I was doing, and this is expected of what I was doing, and nothing was flying off the handle, and I just had to listen to my body and eat accordingly. And yeah, as soon as I kind of clicked that we were on the home stretch and the time and everything was just getting shorter and shorter and shorter, especially around 2, because that's when I actually passed the previous record. It was just all a matter of how much further can I go? That's from there on out, I felt really, really good.
How far did you ride at the end of that event? Come 6 p.m. on Saturday. What was the number?
My total distance was 812 kilometers.
Do you have a sense when that number will be officially recognized, when it'll be a Guinness World Record?
So we've gone through the whole official Guinness World Record policy and everything and submitted my full 24-hour live stream and gone through the whole application process prior to the event. So that should be certified and there will be some kind of plaque in the next month or so. I don't know how long it takes Guinness to officially process all of that, but we have done it the correct way.
As you were pedaling, there was another rider, Heather Petrick, and she was on her trainer in the same event. She is reported to have covered 933 kilometers on a virtual ride. When did you first hear about Petrick's ride?
I actually didn't hear much about Petrick's ride. When I was riding, I didn't know anything about it. I was just riding for the Ride for Mind fundraiser and everything and just focusing all of my time on that.
So did her result take you by surprise?
I was surprised, yeah, after I had heard about the ride. I didn't know it was happening in the first place. So yeah.
And what does that mean for the mark that you've set? So there's Patrick's number and your number. What is the significance of each of them?
To my knowledge, the two records stand alone because we've gone through the whole official Guinness World Record policies and the process and the whole official set out application process to make it all official. So as far as I'm concerned, the two records stand alone, but I don't have enough knowledge to really speak to that. Yeah,
as I understand it, hers might be recognized as a Zwift record, while yours is a Guinness record.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd ever want to take on that number of 933 kilometers in 24 hours?
I don't really have any plans to go for this record again, just because the reason that I did it in the first place was because it was a fundraiser for mental health. So if an opportunity like that arises again, maybe I would, but my entire goal was just to raise money for the charity. So hopefully COVID and everything gets reconciled and we can ride outside and race and everything and continue to talk about mental health and everything like that.
That's interesting. You'd rather do some other types of riding than chase 24-hour records?
Yeah, I don't think my body would appreciate me sitting on the saddle for 24 hours at a time frequently.
What was the first thing you did after you climbed off the bike?
I hugged everyone around me, and then I sat down on the floor and ate pizza. Oh, and we popped champagne.
Right.
That was nice.
I've seen photos on social media of the champagne.
Yeah, Magnato was nice enough to send us a couple bottles of that, so that was nice.
And what kind of pizza was it?
Definitely Hawaiian.
Definitely Hawaiian. And how has your recovery been? We're speaking roughly a week, just short of a week since you climbed off the bike. Yeah, how has it been recovering from that effort?
So the recovery for me has been mostly mental. The physical, I don't know, say symptoms, the physical kind of consequences of that fizzled out like a day or two ago, where my soreness was manageable and it kind of just felt like I'd hit the gym super hard. But the mental crash was a lot because I was on such a high for a couple days, and then I would just be like at home sitting and being like, okay, wow, that was quite a lot of everything. And then I would just kind of have a mental crash because there's the expectations of, what are you going to do next? What do you have planned? What are your next plans? Are you going to do this again? Just all of that kind of stuff. And that was a lot to kind of deal with. So we're on the better part of that now. I feel a lot more like myself and a lot more ready to start training. I'm going to ride outside a lot in the next coming days. And yeah, I'm feeling a lot like myself again. So I'd say it took a good week, but we're there.
I can totally appreciate that. You have no outlet for this big effort and high and then come down.
Yeah, exactly.
So then I'm going to ask you that maybe unfair question, which is, what's next for you? Or maybe, what do you have planned in 2021?
I plan to race as much as I possibly can. I know that we have quite a full TT and gravel calendar, so I'll be pursuing that, probably attending a couple training camps, COVID permitting, and yeah, just racing as much as I can, getting my name out there, building towards my goals, which is to be a pro cyclist on the Women's World Tour. That's my ultimate goal. So just doing everything in my power to kind of work towards that.
Well, Lucy, thank you very much for sharing that. And yeah, good luck with your next cycling endeavors. We look forward to seeing where they take you.
Thank you so much.
And that's the episode. It's written and edited by me, Matthew Pioro. I had a lot of help from web editor Lily Hanson-Gillis. She's written extensively about Lucy Hempstead and Heather Petrick on our website. Web editor Terry McCall also pitched in as well. The Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast is produced by Adam Killick. He composed the music too. Thanks to Ontario Creates for its support. And thank you for listening. Please rate and review the show, ride safely, and I'll talk to you later.